The rain came down in silver sheets that morning, soft but relentless, washing over the quiet suburb where wealth was measured not by hearts but by the height of iron gates. In the middle of that storm, a young woman named Lila Hayes walked through puddles holding her little daughter, Emma, wrapped in a thin floral blanket. Her clothes were damp, her hair clung to her face, and the tray in her trembling hands carried what was left of her morning's labor, 6 small pastries, imperfect yet baked with love and desperation. Lila wasn't supposed to be here. This neighborhood was where men drove cars that cost more than she'd ever earn in a lifetime. But hunger changes courage. Rent was due, Emma was sick, and the local cafe she worked at had shut down after the owner's bankruptcy. Selling homemade pastries door to door was her only hope. Each knock felt heavier than the last, each rejection colder than the rain on her back. When she reached the last mansion on the hill, a house that looked like it was built for a king, Lila almost turned back. But Emma tugged at her shirt and whispered softly, "Mommy, one more. Maybe this nice house will buy." That tiny voice of hope broke the silence inside her heart. She nodded and stepped up to the massive double doors. Before she could lose her nerve, she knocked. The door opened. Standing there was a man who seemed carved from confidence itself. Ethan Blake, the reclusive millionaire who owned half the town's real estate. His tailored suit, his sharp eyes, and his calm presence could have frozen anyone, but Lila stood her ground. For a second, neither spoke. The world outside them blurred in the rain. Then Lila's voice broke the silence. "Can I sell you a pastry, sir?" Ethan looked down at the tray, then at the child clinging to her. He noticed her soaked clothes, the trembling in her voice, and the dignity she tried hard to hide behind a polite smile. Something stirred in him, something unfamiliar. He hadn't been spoken to that gently in years. "Come in," he said quietly. Lila hesitated. I just wanted to sell." I said come in. "You'll catch a fever out there." Inside, the warmth of the mansion wrapped around her like a forgotten memory. The scent of expensive wood and lemon polish filled the air. She placed the tray on the marble counter, still unsure if she'd done something wrong. Ethan studied her closely, not with pity, but curiosity. "You bake these?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she replied. "They're not perfect, but they're fresh. I make them myself every morning. I'm just trying to earn enough for my daughter's medicine." He picked one up, took a bite, and for the first time in years, he smiled. "They're incredible." Lila blinked in disbelief. No one had ever called her baking incredible. "How much?" he asked. $3 each, she said softly. Ethan chuckled. "That's too little for something this good." He reached for his wallet, but instead of a few bills, he pulled out a checkbook. Her eyes widened as he wrote something down. "I'll pay you $5,000, he said, handing her the check. She stepped back. "Sir, that's too much. I can't take." He interrupted firmly. "You can, and you will. Because starting today, you're going to bake for me." Lila's lips parted in shock. "Bake, for you?" "Yes," he replied. "You'll move in here with your daughter. You'll have a kitchen, resources, and safety. In return, you'll make pastries every morning. Think of it as employment, plus accommodation." Her heart raced. The offer sounded unreal. Move in, with a stranger? A millionaire? Her instincts screamed no. But then she looked down at Emma, coughing softly in her arms, her small face pale from the cold. She swallowed hard. "Why me?" she whispered. Ethan's eyes softened. "Because you remind me of someone I lost, a woman who also knocked on my door one rainy day, years ago. I turned her away then. I won't make that mistake twice." Lila couldn't hold back her tears. That moment changed everything. The days that followed felt like a dream. Lila and Emma moved into a small guest wing of Ethan's mansion. The kitchen became her world, a place where she poured her soul into every recipe. Ethan watched quietly, sometimes helping without saying a word. He wasn't just a businessman, he was a man haunted by regrets, and her presence seemed to bring light into the shadows he lived with. Emma adored him. She'd follow him around, calling him Mr. Ethan, asking endless questions about his grand piano, his library, and his cars. Ethan, who'd once believed he could never love again, found himself smiling more than he had in years. One evening, as Lila pulled a tray of croissants from the oven, Ethan entered quietly. "You've changed this house," he said softly. She looked up, startled. "I'm sorry if we've been a bother." He shook his head. "No. You've made it feel like home again." The air between them grew heavy with emotions neither dared to name. Over the next few weeks, something bloomed, slowly, beautifully. Lila noticed how Ethan always remembered Emma's bedtime story, how he'd make sure the kitchen had everything she needed, and how his eyes softened whenever he saw them together. And Ethan. He realized he wasn't just saving them, they were saving him too. But happiness rarely comes without a test. One morning, while Lila was preparing breakfast, a sleek black car stopped outside. From it stepped a tall, elegant woman, Ethan's ex-fiancée, Victoria Hale, who had left him years ago for someone richer. When she saw Lila in the kitchen, flour on her cheeks, she smirked cruelly. "Oh, so this is what you've become, Ethan. A babysitter for stray women." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Leave, Victoria." But she wasn't done. "Does she even know you? Or what you've done?" Lila froze, confused. "What is she talking about?" Victoria turned to her. "Your so-called savior here caused a company collapse years ago that ruined dozens of families. He hides behind his mansion and money, pretending he's a hero." Ethan's silence was painful. Lila felt her world spin. She looked at him, eyes wide, heartbreaking. "Is that true?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. I made mistakes. I was arrogant. People suffered because of me. I've spent years trying to make things right." Lila's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him. And deep down, she did. Because she'd seen the men behind the walls, the kindness, the guilt, the redemption. "I don't care who you were," she whispered finally. "I care who you are now." Victoria scoffed and stormed out, defeated. When she was gone, Ethan turned to Lila. "You should hate me." She shook her head. "I can't. Because you saved us when you didn't have to." He looked at her for a long moment, then stepped closer. "Lila. I didn't save you. You saved me." Their eyes locked. The rain began to fall again outside, just like that first day. But this time, it wasn't cold. It was cleansing. Months passed. Lila's pastries became famous in the town. With Ethan's help, she opened her own bakery, Emma's Delight, named after her daughter. But even as success came, she never left Ethan's mansion. It wasn't just a house anymore, it was home. One evening, after closing the bakery, Ethan arrived with flowers. "You've done it," he said proudly. "Your dream came true." Lila smiled. "Our dream. I couldn't have done it without you." He hesitated, then took her hand. "Then let me ask you one last thing." She looked up, puzzled. "Can I buy a pastry, Miss Hayes?" he asked softly, echoing her words from that rainy day. Tears filled her eyes as she smiled. "No, sir, you can't buy this one." "Why not?" "Because it's already yours." Ethan pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in years, both of them felt complete. Outside, the rain poured again, but this time, it wasn't sorrow washing over them. It was destiny. And from that day forward, Lila Hayes, the woman who once knocked on doors to sell pastries, became the heart of the man who'd once closed himself off from the world. Sometimes, fate doesn't knock twice. But when it does, you'd better open the door. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about love, fate, and second chances. Because sometimes, one small act of kindness can change a lifetime, sparkling heart.